a curve of the calm hauteur of far heaven, descending into earth's humility. Her forehead spanned vaulted the omniscient gaze. Her eyes were two stars that watched him. He wanted the mighty mother to look into his eyes. So here are the two eyes now looking to her. Her eyes were two stars that watched the universe. A curve, a calm hauteur. Well, hauteur, something which is haughty, proud, with a kind of an arrogance, haughtiness. Basically, it is what one would call superbia. Superbia. Something great. Superbia. Calm. So it is a kind of a arrogance, insistence. Yes, I am that mighty. And she is not going to brook any opposition at all. It means that. The superbia is there. Supremeness is there. But at the same time, it is not arrogance of a turbulent nature. It is not an arrogance of a disturbed mind or a being. It is the arrogance, the pride of a calm person. Yes, I am Ishvara. And in that godliness, in that Ishvarahood, I assert myself. Calm hauteur of far heaven, descending into earth's humility. Well, obviously, therefore, hauteur and humility, pride and humility, humbleness. Her forehead span vaulted the omniscient. So she is looking now at the omniscient's gaze. The power that from her being summit reigned, the presence chambered in lotus secrecy, the power that her being summit reigned. He was asking for power. Yes, that power is now. The presence chambered in lotus secrecy in the heart. He was asking whether the mighty mother is seated in her. That presence is there. That power is there. She is revealing both. That is the apocalypse. The power that from her being summit reigned, the presence chambered in lotus secrecy, came down and held the center in her brow, where the mind's Lord in his control room sits. Now, that human Savitri is undergoing that mighty transformation. First, what happens? The divine power and presence, they are descending now into the incarnate Savitri. First, here in the head, it is the entry of Mahakundalini into the subtle body of Savitri. Entry of Mahashakti, Mahakundalini, into the subtle body of Savitri. Center after center of a subtle body are now getting occupied by that descending force. The descending force is first entering here, it will enter here, it will enter here in various parts. The power that from her being summit reigned, the presence chambered in lotus secrecy, came down and held the center in her brow, Ajna Chakra, where the mind's Lord in his control room sits. There, throned on concentration's native seat, he opens that third mysterious eye in man. It is that Ajna Chakra. It is that center which opens. You get the sight of all the phases of time. Trikala Drishti. It is that which opens out. There, thrown on concentration's native seed, he opens the third mysterious eye in man, the unseen's eye that looks at the unseen. When light, the golden ecstasy, fills his brain, and eternal wisdom drives his choice, and eternal will sees the mortal's will. So, first here, second here, now the third center, lotus throat. It stirred the lotus of her throat of song. It is that which gives the expression, song. And in her speech throbbed the immortal world. Her life sounded with the steps of the world soul, moving in harmony with cosmic thought. So the three centers have been now occupied by that mighty force. As glides God's sun into the mystic cave, so the way the sun is entering into the cave, where hides his light from the pursuing God, it glided into the lotus of her heart. The fourth center is opening out, and woke in it the force that alters fate. So if you want to change the fate, it is that center of heart which should wake up. And it is that heart center now which is receiving the divine Shakti. Further down, it poured into a navel's lotus depth, lodged in the little life nature's narrow home. On the body's longing grew heaven rapturous flower and made desire a pure celestial flame. So in the lower subconscious nature, the vital nature below is opening. Broke into the cave where coiled world energy sleeps. All the forces of nature which are asleep here, they are now waking up from below. Sleep. And smote the thousand-hooded serpent foes. Now what is happening? That Kundalini which is there down below, it got struck with that descending force. And with that Kundalini rises and jumps up and joins the head center, Sahasrara. So basically, the awakening of Kundalini in Savitri is from above down below. In the traditional yoga, the Kundalini rises from below and climbs up. Center above center, the Kundalini, the serpent pose rises and joins the lotus. Here, in the case of Savitri, it is a descent of the higher force which is occupying the various centers in a subtle body. That blazing tower and clad the world selves above, joined matter's dumbness to the spirit's hush. So, with that awakening of Kundalini from below, it is rising up and joining the spirit and matter. Death was asking, where is the bridge between the shadow and the Supreme? Here is the bridge. Here is the bridge. Join matter's dumbness to the spirit's self and filled earth's acts with the spirit's silent power. So that is the kind of a mighty transformation which has taken place in Savitri. Now, we have to understand one thing, that this mighty transformation in Savitri is not really the physical transformation. The physical transformation is different than the mighty transformation which is. A mighty transformation came upon her. Now this mighty transformation is now the Kundalini Shakti occupying all her subtle body centers. It is not the physical transformation. Physical transformation will come when Savitri conquers death. Thus changed, she waited for the word to speak. The Kundalini Shakti, Mahashakti is now established in Savitri. That does not mean that now Savitri is rushing to death. She has to get the command. She has to get the order from above to do her work. She is ready, but the call has to come, the command has to be given. Thus changed, she waited for the word to speak. Eternity looked into the eyes of death. That is what death wanted. If the Truth Supreme is with you, let she look into my eyes. That moment has come for him. Thus changed, she waited for the word to speak. Eternity looked into the eyes of death, and darkness saw God's living reality. Then a voice was heard that seemed the stillness itself, or the low, calm utterance of infinity. When it speaks to the silence in the heart of sleep, a voice was heard. So it is the divine Savitri now who is going to speak out. And what she says, the transformed Savitri, what does she say? I hail thee, Almighty and victorious death. That is a greatness. Savitri has won the victory over death, but she is calling death victorious. She is greeting him, she is hailing him. She is applauding his work. She is applauding his work. I hail thee, Almighty and victorious death. Why? Almighty, of course, he has been holding all the power until now. He has been victorious. It is because of him that Savitri has undergone that transformation. He wanted to see the divine Shakti in her. That is his victory to have brought about that change, to have become instrument to make that change, to bring about that change in Savitri. In that sense, in fact, it is because of death that the whole process is going on steadily. In the absence of death, there would not have been any progress at all. And therefore, death is victorious. And then she addresses, O void that makes room for all to be. He is the Creator who is providing space for all activities here. O void that makes room for all to be. Hunger that gnaws at the universe. You are swallowing all that thing. Consuming the cold remnants of the sun. The suns had died. The fire is no more burning there. But it is you who are swallowing them all. Consuming the cold remnants of the sun. And eats the whole world with a jaw of fire. With the jaws of fire. And eats the whole world with the jaws of fire. Now this reminds of the Vishwarupa you have in the Gita, in the 11th chapter. He shows the cosmic form, and what does Arjuna see? That everything is plunging into him with all his 1,000 arms, 1,000 feet, all these flames which are rising. Into that, the whole creation is plunging. That is what Savitri sees here. And eats the whole world with the jaws of fire. Dantra Karalani, that is what Gita says. Waster of the energy that has made the star, inconscious carrier of the seeds of thought. Nations in which all knowledge sleeps entombed and slowly emerges in its hollow breast, wearing the mind's mask of bright ignorance. Thou art my shadow and my instrument. In other words, Savitri has identified herself totally now with the Supreme, with the Truth Supreme. He says that death is the shadow of that Supreme. I have given thee thy awful shape of dread, Kalarupa, and thy sharp sword of terror and grief and pain. Unless that terror and that grief and that pain is there, progress in this evolutionary equation is not possible. I have given you that shape. I have given you this soul. To forge the soul of man, to struggle for light on the brevity of his half-conscious state. Thou art his spur to greatness in his works. You prompt the forces of nature to move forward. You are the spur, the whip to his journey for eternal bliss. You are driving man towards eternal bliss. His poignant need of immortality is man's poignant need of immortality. It is that you are fulfilling, that you are satisfying. And therefore she says, live death a while. Yes, you are necessary. Be there. Be still, my instrument. I still need you to be there to carry on the progress. One day, man too shall know the fathomless heart, the depth which is there, of truth which is there in your heart. It is that also you will see by man one day. Till man sees that fathomless truth in him, till man sees that fathomless truth in him, death is necessary. Therefore she says, live a while, stay on, till man sees that truth which is there in you. That you are there not for nothing. One day man too shall know the fathomless heart of silence and a brooding peace of night and grave obedience to eternal law and a calm, inflexible pity in thy deed. You are firm, you are determinate, you are obstinate, you are the ordainer for a purpose. Be that still. I need you still for the purpose. Because man has to see in you that fathomless depth of truth. But now, oh, timeless mightiness, stand aside. At this particular moment, please stand aside. Step away from my path and leave the path of my incarnate force. Now it is that mighty voice who is speaking to Savitri. And she says, my incarnate force, that Savitri, let her proceed. Across the path of divine event, it is he who is standing. Leave that path and leave the path of my incarnate force. Relieve the radiant God from thy black mask. Radiant God, Satyavan. Satyavan was covered by death. The mask of death he had put on. Now remove that mask from his soul. Satyavan was in the grip of death. Loosen that grip and let him be free. Release the soul of the world called Satyavan, free from thy clutch of pain and ignorance, that he may stand master of life and fate, man's representative in the house of God, the maid of wisdom and the spouse of light, the eternal bridegroom of the eternal bride. Release that grip by which until now you are holding him in your charge. That moment has come. Let him be free of you. She spoke that unconvinced, resisted still. He is not going to eat so easily.
Bit stubborn, huh?
Yeah.
Very stubborn.
Yes, Lucy. See, after all, it's a question of his life and death. He has to fight till the last moment.
It's life and death.
It's a question of his survival of life and death, you see. Unshakable, he stood claiming his right. Although he knew, refusing still to know, although he saw, refusing still to see, he knows that his end has come, but he refuses to see the end. Yeah. He knows the moment has arrived, but he ignores it. Unshakable, he stood, claiming his right. Yes, I am the master, I am the Lord of this mortal creation. Still claiming that.